having children, I think, helps you see life differently as well. Because you see it in the children, you know. And something I noticed too, like with parenting, a lot of, and I did it, I'm guilty of this, but you'll hear the word no a lot. No, don't do that. No, be careful. No. I think we say no a lot to children. And it kind of, like, maybe that's the beginning of the programming where they become fearful. Because a no is like, no, you're gonna get hurt. That to me is putting fear. So I wish I had the foresight. I would have raised my children probably a little bit different as well. It's like, let them explore a bit. Yeah, we have to, like, there has to be caution and, you know, avoiding accidents. But it's so prevalent. If you listen to a parent, it's like, wow, you said no like 20 times in half an hour.
Because as you were talking, both of you, I kept getting 3D. That's the 3D experience. That's totally the 3D. It's constraints.
Yeah.
I guess that's the message of the day. Like ascension is no constraints. 3D, this 3D is all constraining. Yeah. Right. So there's like programming and timelines and time limits and societal expectations, and it dims our light. Right. So I feel like that is the struggle. So if it's dimming our light, then we're dimming our kids' light. And then, you know,
that's
and it goes down and down.
That never ending cycle.
Right. So as you're talking about all these constraints, the limits, right, I see a human body being sort of imprisoned in a wire cage, if you will. We can see through it, but we can't just get out of it. It's like, oh, I realize this is a limit, and this is a limit, and this is a limit. Like I'm in a cage, but I can see through it. Like I can see what's happening on the other side of it.
Yeah. For me, I was like the younger of 8 children. So one of the younger ones. I lived in a small community, and there was a lake, and I was 5 minutes from the lake. I had so much freedom. I'd be like 4 years old in a bathing suit with a towel around my neck, barefoot, hopping to the lake every day. Bye, Mom. See you at lunch. And we would just go on our own. We didn't have to be supervised or driven everywhere. I lived very free as a child. For whatever reason, didn't seem to be as much danger, or maybe because I was a younger child, my mom and dad weren't as protective, or, you know, that control wasn't, we all, you know, brothers and sisters, the lake was the playground. So I kind of lived really free. And then when I was like raising our own children, like as the time went on, then there's abductions and all this, like fear was just built into communities. And then kids just became, if you look at it, the programming started slowly. And then now what are the kids doing? They're in front of a TV screen or a video screen. They're not outside in nature. I lived free. I was happy as ever. Like I had the best childhood ever because I was free to do all of that. So, you know, we got to go back to nature and break free of all of these constraints. So that's where I'm, anyway,
my childhood was a lot like that. We lived a quarter of a mile from a lake, from the Saginaw Bay. And like, I would get on my bike in the morning and I had a bike. I had like 5 miles, be 5 miles away from my house and like living my best life and having a good time with my friends. And we would just have so much fun, and we wouldn't come home till it'd be like come home when the outside lights come on, when it's dark outside. So it's like we had so much freedom.
Your bike was for me, that was my transportation just to get anywhere farther than a mile or whatever, you know. Oh, we didn't ask our parents to drive us. It was like, you're on your own, you know. You're going to get there. And it was so much fun. Like, and also as you're doing that, you're physically exercising and you're getting the endorphin kicks, like, so you're in a happy mood. Kids aren't as active. No wonder the kids are having such a hard time.
I wonder they're labeling us all ADD because we're not to just sit.
No,
right.
Obey. I mean, interesting because I don't think we fully know what this serious indoctrination of technology, and I'm not trying to. Technology is great. We're using it right now. But as we were growing up, I mean, we had to use our imagination, and I feel that
creativity,
reading books.
Yes, that make believe that really helps. Well, it's
foster imagination.
Yeah, it helps so many things and your development. And I was thinking about, we're talking about control, and why do we as humans control? Well, because of fear. And also we want things oftentimes subconsciously to be a certain way. So like if you are in a relationship and you want this person to be a certain way, you have an attachment to that outcome. You're basically giving your power away, because now you want them to act in a certain way, and if they don't, then you're not going to be happy. So I remember one time I was driving and looking at the traffic lights, and I don't know why, I was thinking about attachment, and I thought, interesting, when I say I want that to be green and it's not green, I'm a little disappointed, like, oh shucks, I didn't make it. What if I'm just driving, I'm in the present, I don't care, green, yellow, red, it is what it is. I don't really control that. Then you're not setting yourself up for disappointment. I mean, it's a silly example, but it's an analogy.
It's not, but you're falling into time constraints that were put on us as well. So you want that green because you have an appointment to get to or whatever, right? You have to be somewhere.
You're in a hurry. Yeah.
So now you're like, oh, damn, you're rushing because you need to be somewhere. That's a time constraint. That's another program. Like, honestly, we could dissect the program so easily. And then there's the teacher thing too, like standing up in class, listen to me, children, like bang, bang. What if we had a teacher? What if teachers were like Patch Adams in the medical?
Yes.
Like, let it be like, exploration and fun and laughter and have a good time. Quentin, my little guy at home. Okay, he's my grandson. I said it. I don't like the title, but I love the state. My grandson, he would get in a lot of trouble from the teachers, and his mom would say, Quentin, but why? He goes, Mom, I just want everyone to laugh. So he's seeing through the programs, and he saw the school. Like, we have such a challenge with him in school. But I can't falter him because I agree with him. It's like, how do we deal with this? The kid is wise beyond, and I can't force it. So, but he just wants everyone to have a good time. It's like, and it's all this ugly, like, listen to the teacher, and you're being reprimanded, and you can't go to the washroom when you need to go to the washroom. What if you have, irritable bowel syndrome, and you're going to have a hard time, you're judged, and you're uncomfortable. Like, who knows, right? I'm just using any example, but...
For girls, it's their time of the month. They got to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you got to put up your hand and ask to use a bodily function. This is ridiculous.
Right.
We need to break free and get out of this control constraints.
Yes, I think you're bringing up very good points that maybe a lot of people don't see. And maybe a lot of people are seeing now, but I feel like all that is going to change. And so I think because of my hope, like
me too.
Listen, if I always tell them, we could do homeschool, you can do Florida virtual, you could do all kinds of different schoolings. No, we want to be with other people. We want to be with other kids. So I'm like, okay, then we just need to play the game. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We do it until we don't have to anymore. And if there's things that are violating what you need, you do it respectfully. And then if they have a problem with it, tell them to call me. Go to the office. I don't care. Tell them to call me. You go to the bathroom, get up and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm dealing with it every day. Yeah.
But we have to unite. So this is the unity. So we have to unite and say, no, this is not how I want my
do not comply.
I do not comply. We are sovereign beings.
Yes. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times schools are teaching what to think versus how. So
I need to breathe.
I mean, really, we should be teaching children and beyond. Don't believe me. Question. Learn how to.
Always.
Yes, Ava.
We should be teaching children you don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. We shouldn't be teaching them you have to comply or you get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is
right.
Yes.
A lot of things can be avoided is you are autonomous. I mean, we're going to help you if you're struggling with something. And I'm speaking from personal experience, as when I was growing up, school was difficult. I obviously don't have children, but from what I see around me, and I went to boarding school for a little bit, and I remember the teacher, we called him Mr. Kevin, and he's like, don't believe a damn thing I say. In fact, please disagree if you want to. And he's putting out little nuggets for you to learn how to question, you know, build your critical mind, how to think, not what to think. And our entire system, public school systems and beyond, are not, for the majority, are not fostering that and helping cultivate that. And so really, I believe when we can, you might have to play the system. I mean, I got an iPhone because I was living in Nashville and I didn't have a car and I needed to Uber and I couldn't Uber with dumb phone. And I didn't really want an iPhone at the time. I was pretty late to the game. Now I think it's cool and I appreciate it. But the system is set up for, if you don't really play their rules, life is tough. Like, even they use so much technology now in schools. And so, I think at the very least, you know, if you have to play the game, helping validate you, I'm not going to reprimand you for saying no to something you're not comfortable with. Like, truly.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on about the things that I tell my kids that they deserve the freedom for. And my husband's in line with me about that. But I mean, I fortunately live in Florida, so I have a lot of the laws on my side with my kids when it comes to them. So I feel more supported when it comes to being able to say to them, you know, it's okay to say no to things. Although I think I would probably feel that way even if I lived in Illinois. But I agree with you. Like, there's a certain amount of things that I think people need to sort of open their eyes to, that just because people say you're not supposed to do that doesn't mean that it's right, and doesn't mean it's lawful, and doesn't mean that it's, you know, okay just to follow blindly to what they're saying because they say that.
That teaching them discernment from a young age, I think, is so important. Like, does that feel like that's true? Does that feel like your truth? Or does that feel like, does that not feel good? How does that feel when you hear that? Teaching them discernment so they can have thoughts on their own and decide if that feels true to them is so important. And I think if everybody knew how to tell what discernment was, this world would be so much different.
Didn't one of you say, wouldn't it be nice to see the young children meditating in school every day? Yeah. Like learning how to meditate and tap into their higher self. Come on, they're prime. They're probably already so connected.
And because especially in middle school, kids are so like awkward and you know, feel so you know, not in your own skin. Yes, not in their own skin. That, you know, if everybody else is doing it, then it's okay. So that would be fantastic if it was just a normal thing everybody did.
And you can start by saying, because this is actually how I started listening to it, is how does that feel in your body? Where do you feel in your body? What's your initial reaction or response to something that you're feeling? And does it give you a contracted tight feeling, like a no, or more of an open, free feeling, like a yes? And I think a lot of the times there's so many situations that if we try to address every situation, like, okay, if this happens, then do this. But something I noticed that if you can help, if somebody has self-confidence growing up, then that is going to be a big guiding stone in how they deal with situations. And so I think a lot of it is helping cultivate that self-confidence in children and others too. It's just, I think we're emphasizing children because they're going to be, the next generation.
So Kristin, you were talking about discernment.
Yes.
And then Ava was talking about how to recognize discernment in your own body, whether it feels tight and contracted or open. How do you tell our viewers to go out into the world and plug it into the brain? Because now we're talking about, okay, so we're plugging it into our chakra system. Are they feeling open? Are they feeling sort of closed off, right? Where does the brain come in? Okay, does that resonate with me? Does that ring true to me? How do we use it all throughout our body, the discernment? What are we looking for?
Well, I think when we're talking about discernment, you kind of got to turn off the brain and focus on your heart and how you feel as opposed to what you think. So, just like the media try with brainwashing and wanting us to know all the negative things that are going in the world, turn off that part of your brain and focus on how you feel when you're hearing that information. Mm-hmm. So, like, what does the truth feel to you? Mm-hmm. What, so for me, for instance, when I hear truth or when something resonates with me, I feel this opening in my heart center, like this blooming in this just tingling kind of sensation. When I feel like something isn't right and it's not the truth, I get this pain in my right leg.
Oh, really?
That's how it is for me. It's like I don't get the closed off feeling. Like I get a little bit of a close up. I get like nothing here. Mm-hmm. So it's not that opening. It's like nothing, but I get this sharp pain in my right leg.
Oh, wow.
You're lucky.
Yeah, you are lucky.
Easy to tell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, and you made a good point because it's a lot about learning what your own personal truth feeling is, and it can be different for absolutely everybody. And for me, when I first started listening to that yes and no, that intuition, it was some wiggle room of, is this my anxiety or thoughts trailing off, or is this my intuition? And just the more that you practice and listen to it, it just becomes so much easier, because I can know if I'm on a trail of thoughts and then I have some like, oh, this is going to happen, I know that's anxiety. If I'm just like going about my life and then this thought pops in, I listen to it. And so I understand the part of turning off the brain. I receive a lot of information, clear cognizant, but it's different in a way because I'm not teasing it apart with logic. Like I'm just receiving it in a thought form and also paying attention to how it feels in the body.
Yes. Right there. You said it perfectly.
So maybe you're not unplugging your intellectual body, but you're plugging in your emotional body.
Kind of when Ava does our meditations and you're turning that logic down, but turning our intuition up.
Muting it or turning it down and then turning the other one up. Okay.
Yeah, turning down that self-analyzer, judgment, laughter and amusement and your intuition. It's important. We live in a very headstrong society, so it's really emphasized. Also a pretty masculine society. I mean, I think that's shifting a lot, but we are getting more in tune to our intuition. I think it's different parts of the brain or mind or consciousness that we're tapping into.
Well, one of the things, one of the messages I've been getting all week from my guides is to really connect to love. And I believe it's because we are all a source of love, but people forget that and don't connect right to it. So if you practice that daily, at least a little bit, I think that also helps release some of the constraints around us, because the love feeling, if you think about it, it's up there with laughter, right? It's like it's ascension high feeling where there's no constraints. So I always think of my little Sudsy, my dog who passed away a couple years ago, right before the
lockdown.
Yeah. And I just get his, I mean, my kids too, but I mean, that's the first thing like triggers me to go to that love feeling. So I think once you are able to intuit that, then you keep practicing that, like, and start, my guides kept saying this week, live from love. Like everything needs to start being lived through love.